Let's talk about Time Wizard. A few years back, scrawled on what appeared to be the back of a McDonald's receipt, Konami took a single action that would define years of how we play the game. In the wake of the pandemic, reigniting interest in Yu-Gi-Oh's historic formats, the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Playtesting some of the all-time greatest in terms of retro, and an infrastructure of channels like E3 Yu-Gi-Oh! Pushing paper play for formats like Edison, they caved. Konami, in a shockingly lucid decision, sanctioned retro Yu-Gi-Oh! By detailing the rules for Time Wizard format. Time Wizard was a mechanism by which any OTS could offer packs and prizing for paper play of long-forgotten formats, adopting the card pool, rulings, and social mores of yesteryear. This announcement occurred during one of Yu-Gi-Oh's most frustrating formats of all time, and I knew dozens of OTSs that immediately jumped at the chance to run concurrent events for Goat, Reaper, Hat, Tengu, and Edison. In fact, mostly Edison. And after a few months, exclusively Edison. To put into perspective just what a stranglehold Edison has on Time Wizard, this past weekend at the Ultimate Time Wizard 3v3, an event where people had brought Goat and Tengu cards, a judge told me day one they fired dozens of pods of Edison, a few Goat events, and had 2 total Tengu players hoping to launch a pod. The 25th anniversary giant Tengu card ended up being given to an Edison player. Now, let me get out in front of the hate. I think this is fine. I appreciate that there's a retro format so incredible, well-defined, and popular to sustain a consistent player base of people sick of advanced. But its popularity sets an extremely high bar for any other retro format to reach. RBETs, dozens of content creators, and an ever-evolving format are just some of the hallmarks of this format that regrettably aren't present anywhere else. Today, we'll discuss why. I want to ask, what makes a good Time Wizard format? Why haven't others caught on the way that Edison has? And what theoretically could emerge as the next great format? So let's begin with the first necessary hurdle for any retro format to clear. It's gotta be different from the other retro formats. Let's have a quick look at 3 incredibly popular formats. Goat format is a game focused around small incremental advantages. There are huge blowouts, the Trinity of course, but largely you're playing a game of inches, not miles, in which you attempt to eke out extra value from cards until you are in enough of an advantaged state to go for a huge chaos push. Edison format is a game focused around small synergies between cards, isolating ways in which format all-stars like direYGO, Deck Dev, and the like play well with each other. Each of the top decks right now, Forgs, Vayu, Gigavise, Frognark, and their friends, are mostly vague assemblages of extremely powerful cards that play very well with other extremely powerful cards. Games last a long time, many turns, but have the capacity to be swingy, explosive, and interactive. And Tengu does all that shit again. I don't want to come down too hard on Tengu. I know there's huge differences gameplay-wise from Edison. Effect Veiler, hand traps, and Xyz are a big leap, but the top decks are still an assemblage of format all-stars that have small synergies with each other. Games are still swingy and still last many turns. For people who are looking for a shakeup of Edison format, Tengu's a great palate cleanser, but for people who are looking for a radically transformed gameplay loop, you kinda have to look elsewhere. This is a huge problem for a lot of wannabe Time Wizard formats. Meadowlands has a plethora of decks that make Xyz and set 4 just like Tengu. Reaper is basically Goat with an automatic kill button, courtesy of Last Will, Cyberstein, and Cyberdragon Duo. You've gotta offer a meaningful deviation from a play perspective than any other retro format to be successful. Otherwise, you're just shaking up the top decks to play a less explored version of a different retro format. Secondly, a new format has to be meaningfully different than current. At the most recent NAWCQ, Konami ran a survey asking players their opinion on several Time Wizard events, likely in preparation for next year's Ultimate Time Wizard 3v3. In it, they asked about Goat, Edison, and Toss format. This was exciting to some people. Tengu was clearly the black sheep among Ultimate Time Wizard formats, but personally, I wasn't thrilled to lose it to Toss. Why? Because it's basically just current. The top decks in Toss format are Thunder Dragon, Orchest, Sky Striker, and Salamangrate. These are fun decks that have a lot of interplay between each other, but they're also still around. Sky Striker and Salamangrate have tops from 2024. Thunder Dragon Colossus featured heavily in Ritual Beast Brews, but its final form in Crusadia Thunder Dragon is indistinguishable from any other Link Slop combo deck from the past 5 years. Orchest is a top deck in the OCG. If I wanted to play the kind of gameplay a Salamangrate deck from 2019 makes possible, a first turn attempting to play around as many hand traps as possible, a second turn when an opponent attempts to crack the board, and a third turn OTK if they were unsuccessful, I'd just play current. There's a number of incredible formats from recent years, Tier 0, Agov, Rate, that I think just aren't meaningfully differentiated from this style of play. It'll take a transformation from the perspective of current before these get a day in the sun. Third, a format has to be a specific time, not a vibe. If you're playing a Time Wizard format, you should immediately be able to determine when the format took place. Toss, for instance, refers not to a format, but to a series of decks that were popular on and off over an 18-month period in varying states of legality. When it came time to nail down a specific period for the format, Konami had a lot of trouble permitting the powerful Orchest cards that were so integral to the format, but excluding generic Dark Links like Masquerena that made it unbeatable. Hat suffers from this problem more than any other format. Hat actually refers to 3 discrete formats: Early Hat, lasting from Primal Origin release to Structure Deck Realm of Light; High Hat, which includes Super Starter and Master Rule 3, and the format after the July 2014 ban list, but before the release of Duelist Alliance. These formats are drastically different, and my deck is Hat legal doesn't exactly clarify which of them you're playing. Finally, a format has to offer a diverse array of playstyles and decks. This feels like it should go without saying, but I think it's important that people with different tastes can enjoy playing a format. As much as I like Tier 0, as much as I appreciate Dragon Ruler, I can't deny that they're basically just one deck, one playstyle repeated ad infinitum. Sure, you can wax poetic about Spellbook or Fluwandereeze, but be reasonable. Ideally, if there is a best deck, it shouldn't be so much of a best deck that it doesn't come with a big target on your head. Hopefully, such a format would include a control deck, a combo deck, options to go big, go wide, stun, etc. So, where does that leave us? Well, the short of it is, there's almost nothing that fits the bill. In my opinion, Yu-Gi-Oh! Radically transformed 3 times. Firstly, in 2008, when it shed its MTG baggage and embraced synchros and big combos. Secondly, in Duelist Alliance, when every deck began with a combo setup and could threaten an OTK every turn. And thirdly, in 2019, when decks pivoted from 14 negate setups to layered, diverse points of interaction. For the pre-2008 formats, little can compete with GOAT, either in gameplay differentiation or in fame. Pre-2015 feels like an incredibly uphill battle to outdraw Edison, and post-2019, you've got to compete with Current. There are a few possible options. Duelist Alliance release is historically underexplored, as people at the time gravitated to extremely loose BA decks playing Supply Squad and Satellar Knight Set 4 strategies. Inov was remembered fondly by the player base, but I think that's just because the formats afterwards fucking sucked. My pet format is 2016 NAWCQ. It's got a number of powerful decks with different game plans. The 4 pillars of the format were Monarch, which had a bricky version in Domain whose payoff was an extra deck lock, and a more consistent build that played extra deck cards and Brilliant Fusion. Cosmo, which had the ability to OTK anything using Farm Girl, but a build playing Card of Demise and resolving its effect followed by the effect of Tin Cannon Sequence had started to emerge at the WCQ. Burning Abyss, which frequently played Phantom Knights as powerful rank 3 extenders, but occasionally splashed a Kaiju package to out the Domain lock. And Pendulum, which was a combination of all the remaining pieces of the previously unmatched Pepe strategy. Around the margins of the format were Cleafort, which used the Master 3 board to hold extra cards after a Card of Demise, Super Quantums, a combo deck that makes Magnus Magnus, and BA Monarch, a huge deck that aimed to combo, and keep comboing. Time Wizard is an incredible opportunity to look back on decades of history and experience only the hits. But there's got to be a reason, a hook to play a format. If you're looking for the next great Time Wizard, keep these in mind. You don't want to find yourself competing with Edison, or God forbid, Current.